Midnight. The echo of footsteps in the dim corridors of Dolmabahce Palace hits the stone walls like a deep secret. The faint light from the chandeliers casts shadows on the marble floor. The silence is broken only by the distant sound of waves. The cool breeze from the Bosphorus gently stirs the palace's gilded curtains as a young girl walks through the corridor, tears streaming down her face. Every step she takes seems to race against her heartbeat. She is a sultan, born under the magnificent shadow of the Ottoman throne, yet never tasting true happiness because of fate's twists. Abdülmecit's daughter, Mediha Sultan. The story we're about to tell isn't just about an ordinary palace girl. It's about a heart trapped between splendor and sorrow, the life of a forgotten member of the Ottoman dynasty. The palace where Mediha Sultan was born looked magnificent from the outside, a symbol of wealth, power, and grandeur. Golden thrones, crystal chandeliers, silk carpets. But to truly see the secrets hidden within those walls, one had to live inside. Behind the glittering walls were letters written in tears, silent screams, and forgotten dreams. Mediha Sultan was one of those whose silent screams ran the deepest. She grew up in her father's shadow but knew the pain of loss before experiencing the fullness of love. Even among the palace crowds, she learned what it meant to be alone. One midnight, as the young girl walked with tears in her eyes, her inner voice whispered, "Who am I? A sultan, or a prisoner forgotten in the palace's golden cage?" Her story is about finding the answer to that question. The life you are about to hear isn't just about an Ottoman princess. It's the story of all women whose hearts are trapped between love and duty. Mediha Sultan's life is one of the most dramatic portraits hidden behind the grandeur of Ottoman history. Sometimes she would be caught in palace intrigues. Sometimes she would shed tears for love, and sometimes she would be swallowed by the darkness of loneliness. Her name won't appear often in history books because her story was whispered, hidden, and forgotten. But today we'll bring those whispers to light. Now let's step through the golden gates of Dolmabahce. By the Bosphorus, in this palace that dazzled with the empire's splendor, let's witness the first moments that shaped the fate of a little girl. Mediha Sultan's story begins here, midnight. The echo of footsteps fills Dolmabahce Palace like a secret. Its magnificent walls hold hundreds of whispers from the past. Light filters from crystal chandeliers, casting trembling shadows on the marble floors. The cool breeze from the Bosphorus ripples the golden curtains. The palace seems asleep, but that night, every heart was beating as one, because a sultan was about to be born. It's 1856. The Ottoman Empire is powerful but turbulent. Its lands are vast, its palace magnificent, yet the empire is quietly starting to crack. In this world, Abdülmecit's daughter, Mediha Sultan, enters the world. Her birth wasn't just a family's joy. The birth of a sultan meant days of celebration in the palace. Servants rushed through the corridors. Sherbets were prepared, lamps lit, and prayers offered. Outside the nursery, the concubines waited with wide eyes, longing for the announcement. "The sultan is born." Finally, it happened. A tiny cry filled the dim corridors, and history recorded the name Mediha Sultan. Celebrations erupted throughout the palace. Golden trays of sherbet were handed out, concubines hugged each other, prayers were offered, lanterns were lit in the palace gardens, visible even from across the Bosphorus. No one knew that this tiny baby would, years later, walk those same grand halls in tears. Mediha Sultan was born into a city that was the jewel of the world. Crowded bazaars, bustling inns, majestic mosques, grand palaces. Boats glided along the Golden Horn. Traders displayed their goods in Galata. Prayers rose in Ayup. And at the heart of it all, Dolmabahce Palace stood tall, a symbol of Ottoman grandeur. She grew up in golden cradles wrapped in the finest silks. Her childhood was filled with views of the Bosphorus and the melodies echoing through the palace corridors. Yet even amid all this splendor, a little girl's heart learned loneliness very early. For the walls of the palace, magical as they looked from the outside, were cold and filled with secrets on the inside. Even as a baby, Mediha learned the strictest of palace life. Every step, every breath was part of a larger order. The concubines, the nannies, the tutors, all surrounded her, but none could replace a mother's true love. Her father, Sultan Abdulmajid, was consumed by state affairs. Her mother often remained silent, caught up in palace intrigues. Young Mediha loved gazing at the Bosphorus from high windows, watching little boats glide, listening to the cries of seagulls, witnessing Istanbul awaken to the morning call to prayer. Yet those views always came from behind bars. For a palace girl, life outside was only a dream. Palace children received special education early. Mediha was taught the Quran, memorized Ottoman and Persian poetry, and learned Arabic. Music was part of palace life, so she learned to play the piano, and she grew up surrounded by the sounds of the ney and the oud. But her true passion was literature. Even as a small child, she kept notebook of poetry. Often she wrote, "My eyes gaze at the Bosphorus, free birds fly, yet I remain in a cage." These lines reflected her inner world. Mediha's deepest wound came early, losing her father. Sultan Abdulmajid passed away in 1861 while she was still a child. His absence left a deep void. Despite the few cherished memories of his smile and strength, the palace felt emptier. Growing up without her father, young Mediha felt loneliness more acutely. The palace was crowded, but the company couldn't reach her soul. She wandered the gardens alone, confiding in flowers and whispering secrets to seagulls. The palace gardens symbolized both freedom and confinement. Walking among the walls felt free, yet she could never truly go outside. Once she asked her mother, "Mother, will I ever glide across the Bosphorus in a boat?" Her mother replied softly, avoiding her gaze, "You are a sultan, my daughter. The palace charts a sultan's path, not the Bosphorus." This was one of the first chains etched onto her heart. Even as a child, Mediha witnessed palace games, jealousy among concubines, power struggles of the Validi sultans, the fight to become the sultan's favorite. She saw that life wasn't fairy tale. The palace, though magnificent, was also a stage for hidden battles. Every night, as the palace fell silent, she would lie alone, dreaming of freedom. "I want to be the daughter of liberty, not of the palace," but the golden gates never fully opened. Years passed. Little Mediha grew into a graceful young lady, with dark hair cascading over her shoulders and blue eyes full of deep melancholy. She carried both the dignity of a sultan and the vulnerability of a young girl. As she reached young adulthood, she began to notice new feelings, her heart stirred by a young officer in the palace. A glance, a secret letter, a spark of forbidden love. Yet the palace rules forbade such choices. Her love was discovered, the officer was sent away, and she was left with only letters and unsaid words. She grew up, endured arranged marriages, palace intrigues, and heartbreaks. She faced exile, loss, and loneliness. But through it all, she found inner strength. Looking at the Bosphorus at night, she would whisper, "Perhaps I have lost splendor. Perhaps I am far from the palace, but my heart is free, my thoughts my own." In the end, Mediha Sultan, an Ottoman princess, grew old, reflecting on a life of love, loss, and resilience. Her heart remained free beyond the palace chains, arranged marriages, and years of exile. Her life may have ended, but her courage and spirit transcend palace walls, reaching us today. If Mediha Sultan's unforgettable life inspired you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, because we'll continue sharing stories of hidden heroes from history. Anyone who listens to their heart is the true ruler of their own life.